Okay? And Islam for the text that we just got disconnected. So, no, I just connected back. So we're going to have some issues with this today. We already know. So our papers are our only hope of shoveling ourselves out from the avalanche, out from under the avalanche of lies that are annually let loose upon us. A strong free press is the best possible safeguard of the liberties in general promotion and defense of the interests of strong free people. A strong free press, so a press of our own, is the best possible safeguard of the liberties in general promotion and defense of the interests of strong free people. So the safeguard of our liberties is even going to be done through the press. Because through the press, how are we going to safeguard our liberties through the press? When these so-called, whoever they are, decide that they want to send you something, threatening you, you need to deal with this right away, or we're going to take you to debtor's prison and all this type of stuff, you can write writs and you can put them into the paper with the names of the people who are threatening you, and we send it all over the country and all over the world and put other people on notice about the fraud, the racketeering, the extortion, and all this stuff that's going on in the North Gate. Because
people know to be careful how they deal with us because we put them on blast.
Because we put them on blast. And guaranteed, people will, ease back a little bit when they realize that they're on blast. When they realize that, certain people aren't going to be doing business with them anymore because it's now in the open through this newspaper, which is really the only legitimate newspaper because it's Moorish Guide, or it's the Moroccan Star, or it's the Al Moroccan Sun, or whatever, right? The Moorish News, because everybody knows that the North Gate is the Moors. Everybody knows that anything coming out of this jurisdiction that isn't Moorish is a fraud. Like, the world knows that. It's a theme around the world that as soon as you hear Moors, you already know you're talking about the indigenous people. You're talking about the Aboriginal people. You're talking about the people who are tied to the land that are more than likely under occupation by some foreign power, and everything that they're doing is under threat, duress, coercion. So people are going to take that into consideration because we're already under duress, right? Just like anybody, if you're walking down the street, you hear help, 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 you're going to turn around and look. You don't have to know who it is. You're automatically turn around, right? Automatically, you're going to turn around, right? So Quran questions. We're still on. Quran questions. Question. What is our religion? Question 17. What is our religion? Islamism. Is that a new or is that an old-time religion? Old-time religion. What kind of flag is the Moorish? It is a red flag with a 5-point green star in the center. The 5-point green star in the center is commonly known as pentagram, right? This is what everybody out there knows about the pentagram that is over our head, right? Because one, again, everything that Noble Drew Ali said is spirit, and more is better heed. And two, we keep thinking that people are against Moorish science because they might, bastardize it when they're really using Moorish science. just to the best of their ability, and they happen to be bastards. So they can't use it the way that it's supposed to be used. Right? So the pentagram, at its simplest, means a geometrical figure drawn with 5 even lines which form 5 even angles or points. For different reasons, religious groups and other people throughout history have depicted the pentagram. Sometimes we see the figure with its apex pointing upward or inverse and the apex pointing downward. The pentagram was found on pottery pieces that date back to around 3500 BC in ancient Mesopotamia. It has been hypothesized that these fragments and depictions of the figure was meant to represent the 4 corners of the world and their imperial power. Later, the Hebrew people adopted the use of the pentagram to symbolize truth. The reason for this seems to be that the pentagram also represents the 5 books of the Pentateuch, which are the first of the Hebrew scriptures. Their scriptures were a representation of truth. It is sometimes said to be called the Seal of Solomon. The pentacles have been found pressed into jar handles with the Hebrew letters for Jerusalem between the points. There is evidence that the symbol was used to represent the underground womb from which all are reborn, and had a connection to the pyramid had a connection to the pyramid form for the ancient Egyptians. In ancient Greece, the symbol was of interest to Pythagoras, who believed that the pentagram was a symbol of perfection. He called it pent alpha because he noted that it was comprised of 5 geometrical perfect A's. In his world travels, it was believed that he had influenced other cultures, and the current theory is that Pythagoras is the reason why the pentagram shows up in tantric art. In many cases, early Hindu and Buddhist writings share the same symbolism as what Pythagoras has written. It is also said that Greek astronomers noted that the path of planet Venus forms a pentagram as it orbits the sun when observed from Earth. Today, it is said that the plotted path of Venus is an imperfect pentagram that occurs every 8 years. The Celtic Druids seem to believe that the pentagram was a representation of the sacred nature of 5. It was common that the pentagram was also a symbol for the underground goddess Morrigan. The Morrigan was a goddess of battle, strife, and sovereignty. Much of today's neo-pagan movement was based on remnants of the old Celtic traditions and symbols, which is interesting to note. The Celts were Muslims, and they were blackamoors from North Africa, also present in Ireland. In Gnosticism, the pentagram seems to have first been assigned ties with the element of spirit. They believed the pentagram or blazing star had the same or similar symbolism as the crescent moon. Right? They believe that the pentagram or the blazing star had the same or similar symbolism as the crescent moon. This is why Juali said that our religion is Islamism. And then the sign they use for Islam is the crescent and the star. 5-point star. Right? Ancient Christianity used the pentagram too. It was meant to be symbolic of the 5 wounds of Christ. Throat, palms, and then feet. Right? It is also said that the feast of Epiphany, which was meant to celebrate the Magi bringing truth to baby Jesus, was symbolically marked with a pentagram. So we just wanted to put this one up. Because everybody knows that one of the Magian priests was a Moor. One of the three quote unquote wise men. Right? In medieval times, the pentagram was known as the endless knot and a symbol of truth, and so protected against demons. One would use it for personal protection or to protect windows and doors. Sometimes it was meant to represent certain seasons. Apex meant summer, apex upward meant summer, and apex downward meant winter. Right?
So almost the north and the south.
North and south, right? North and south gate, or hot and cold.
Or
right?
think about it, lower and higher.
Lower and high, right?
Higher.
Higher planes, lower and higher south, right? Now, what's interesting, so I just have this one here, right? The endless knot, which is the symbol on the Moroccan flag, right? And then there's the symbol on the flag of Morocco. Now, what's interesting to note, when you Google or search, when you search Morocco, right? When you Google images search Morocco, the red flag with the 5-point star that doesn't look like the endless knot comes up. When you Google Morocco, just Morocco, the flag that they're flying over there right now comes up. Right?
Okay.
When you Google flag of Morocco, the interlace 5-point star flag comes up.
Okay.
So we know that there's two Moroccos. There's the Kingdom of Morocco and the Empire of Morocco.
Right.
Right?
And the kingdom is subordinate to the empire.
And the kingdom subordinate to the empire. But the empire's star is the star that goes back into ancient times, which is the one that was on top. The interlace, endless knot represents metaphysics, unbreaking,
like energy system.
whatever what I want to call it, right? Perpetual, right? And then the other star represents the kingdom, right? So when Moors say, flag of Morocco, right? And they have flags up, there's different flags because the stars are different, right? And just like this is saying, in medieval times, so this is prior to Kingdom of Morocco. Prior to Kingdom of Morocco, pentagram was known as the endless knot, which is this one right here. Right? But this one is the one that they adopted in 56. Right? Just to go further, as far just how far back this goes, in the legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, it is written that he bore a shield inscribed with a pentagram. This represented the 5 knightly virtues: generosity, courtesy, chastity, chivalry, and piety. Right? So there's Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and there's the Moorish Moroccan star on the shield. That's why the knight had it, right? That's why Martin played the knight, right? And in the whole movie they called him a Moor, right?
Is that a knight's tale in this market,
Dark Knight. Dark Knight?
I never saw it.
I think it's Dark Knight.
Referred to as a Moor?
Huh?
He was
referred to as a Moor in the whole movie. Yeah, and he didn't want to accept it. He's telling them he's from Harlem. Why you guys calling me a Moor and all this?
This is his movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
Martin.
watching that and I didn't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, it just, it just goes over your head. You know what I mean?
Back in my black days.
Yeah, back in the black days. But then, right, comes back to that same
But it's
message.
interesting, you think about it, if our level of awareness was such that we were in blackness, what they were doing is reaffirming the disconnect,
Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
Martin, as I'm fortunate to say, the Uncle Tom,
Yeah.
is condoning that behavior.
Right. It's just like what D. Brad was saying,
That's right.
that a lot of these guys have the knowledge, but we have to watch what parts they're playing when, like in the entertainment industry.
Well, what
We just
you're
have to
saying-
monitor.
What you're saying is what he was saying, which was that basically enough of these guys who trade places with guys with money
Right.
as to sort of play the Uncle Tom.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Martin Lawrence, he's like, he may know that, but he's happy to take the check.
Right. Right. But then remember, they tried to say Martin Lawrence is a crazy man because, he had running around with a gun and stuff
Yeah, that's right.
on the street, naked or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which goes back to what D. Brad talking about with the comic there, Cat Williams, how they're going at him right now because he says some stuff in his comedy shows that isn't really comedy. Just like Dave Chappelle says certain things that's not really comedy.
What it is it's not disinformation. Well, in a sense, it's disinformation, but it's debasing someone's character.
Right.
Once that person starts to turn on you, all of a sudden, all the bad stuff.
All the bad
starts
stuff comes up,
But
right?
before
Same
he-
thing that they
before
did
he's
with.
before he's a world class comic.
Right, exactly. Same thing that they did with James Trafficant Jr.
Right.
Same thing that they did with Ron Paul.
Right.
How you think these guys are crazy
Right.
when they're telling you that system crashed since 1933? Like we're using fiat notes and all this stuff,
Right.
right? But they'll throw dirt on them, right?
They
You know?
killed Tropicon, didn't they? Isn't that
No,
what-
they jailed him. He still, they
They
put him
jailed
in
him?
jail for a while. Yeah.
For that or for something?
No, they just
They
trump
just
up
found they-
trump
yeah,
up
of
some
course.
stuff and get this guy out of
Yeah.
circulation because you're
Was he
you're
a
telling too
Moroccan
much.
too? No.
No,
Was he a
I
European
mean,
or- doubt
no,
it.
yeah, he was a European, but
Okay, so
he was
one of-
releasing.
He was one of the ones.
Yeah, he was one of the ones that Noble Drew Ali prophesied that the Europeans gonna tell the truth. Watch the news and listen to the radio,
Right.
right? Right? Gypsies are still said to cut an apple in half to reveal two pentagrams. Right?
Oh, the star of the way that the core looks maybe, right?
Right? So the apple core. Where's that at? Right? Okay, so the apple core is a 5-point star. Okay, maybe not no GMO apples that we got there. Might have a 90-point star, right? Right? Gypsies are said to cut an apple in half to reveal two pentagrams. In each point of the pentagram, there is an apple seed. It is called the Star of Knowledge and represents the mother goddess Kor. So there's Kor, the mother goddess, holding her core of apple, right? Yeah, right. So Kor, the goddess Kor, holding the core of the apple, right?
That's a gypsy thing.
Yeah. During the Crusades, a group of military monks formed the Knights Templar, discovered natural formations of pentagons and pentagrams and incorporated that mysticism into their architecture. They were said to be very connected to the Temple of Solomon. There are still some graves said to be attributed to the Knights Templar that are marked by a pentagram. King Louis the Ninth in 1303 believed that they worked against God and saw them as a threat. So began the Inquisition. During this time, the pentagram began to gain its evil connotations. So during the time of the Knights Templar Inquisition is when they started bastardizing or making the pentagram something evil. Right?
So Friday the 13th and culture.
Right. Right? It became a symbol of a goat's head or Baphomet, which the Templars were accused of worshipping. It was also during this time of the Inquisition that attention turned from Christian heretic to pagan witches who knew herb lore and still followed their old tradition. And then the pagan witches were the Moorish sisters who, the Obia women, right? The Shango Baptists and those people there, right?
They still have those traditions in North Africa. Now
Yeah.
They call them the wise women.
Yeah, right? Horn gods such as Pan and the pentagram became equated with the Christian devil, right? The symbol was widely deemed evil for the first time in history and was given the label witch's foot. Right? These people, right? What they would do to get us away from our Moorish culture.
Every single symbol
Right.
that we have, they've done.
Everything.
This is the empirical
Right.
star, right?
Yeah.
Empire star.
Yeah.
Right.
The interwoven star. To avoid the prying of the church, secret groups of craftsmen and scholars formed the occult philosophy of Hermeticism, the proto-science of alchemy. Geometrical symbols and graphical representations became in part as the era of the Renaissance came into being. And then we know Hermeticism comes out of Hermes Trismegistus, which comes out of Thoth, which comes out of Tahuti, and the scribe and the information dealing with the universal laws and all that. Western occult thoughts began to emphasize the mantra as above so below, which meant to say that man was a small part of the universal spirit. The pentagram could not be squashed for long. Here it returned as the star of microcosm, symbolizing man as part of the microcosmic or the macrocosmic universe. Right? So there's the star, the Moorish star, our star, the pentagram, right, being used as the star of microcosm, symbolizing man as part of the macrocosmic universe.
And follow that same as above, so below. That's
Right.
what the six-pointed star represents as well.
Exactly. Right?
This was used by, what's his name?
They also use that symbolism in
Um,
European medicine too, when they have the
Right, the man, right.
something like that, right? That represents, I think.
I think that's Michelangelo.
Every single symbol that they have, they took from us. Everything.
Everything they have, they took from us.
And we can show you the source.
Right.
Michelangelo showed how that pentagram there, not only, it also shows the dimensions of the human body.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like how every, like those Renaissance painters, the reasons why their works were called masterpieces, because they mastered the dimensions of the human body.
They mastered
proportion.
stealing that information.
Exactly. True. They got to the master level of that information by hook or by crook.
Right.
But as
And it
far
was
as the dimensions,
always by code.
of course,
Because
of
we had
course.
already done it thousands
Right.
of years
Of course.
before that.
That's where they had to get it from somewhere, right?
In 1582, Tycho Brahe's work shown a pentagram with the human body imposed and the Hebrew for Yehovah associated with the elements. Another similar image depicts the human body over a pentagram in relationship to the 5 planets and the moon at the center point. So the crescent, the moon at the center point, so they always use a crescent moon, right? And the star, which is Islamism, right? So it's like they know what they're doing. It's not like they don't know what they're doing,
They always know.
right? Always know what they're doing. They always know that after Kemet fell, the Moors were the ones that took the Kemetic culture and went around the world with it. That's why they did the Inquisition, get the Moors out the way so they can get the information, destroy the information, use the information, which is really a science, to control the people and have the people think that pentagrams upside down are negative and crosses are negative and these are negative, swastikas are negative and all these things when all of it is our science.
When they use it for negative reasons, they always flip it backwards. Like
Right.
pentagram
Or upside
backwards,
down or
or
something
upside
like that.
down, you know
Right.
what I mean?
That's right.
It's
Right.
like these leaders, they know the deal, they know the truth is in Islamism because Freemasonry. Once you reach to a certain level, you put down the Bible and you pick up the Quran.
Right.
You know what I mean? The Quran is at the highest from going up to the top level is Quran. Bible and them thing is left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's bottom feeder books.
I realize this
Right.
now. But basically, the answer to all of this is to study all the evil.
Yeah.
Anything that they say is evil.
What they say is evil,
Anything that
gravitate to that.
Anything
Yep.
that European says is evil,
Yep.
you better dig into.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
It just came to me right now.
That's
Yeah.
it.
And that's
all
it right
about
there.
symbols.
Yep.
And it's all
Yep.
the symbology, right?
What's that? There's a video. I don't know whether it's hip hop or it's Ashanti or one of them. With the umbrella.
Oh,
Rihanna.
Rihanna, yeah.
Rihanna, okay.
That's all
And,
occultism.
I saw this video on YouTube and it broke it down a little bit of images of Bachman in there when it's frozen. Like
Right.
when you broke it down, you can see pictures of that, right?
For real.
So you're just catching flashes of
Yeah,
it. You're
yeah.
not really grasping it, right? But at
Right.
the same time, though, the umbrella, I guess, is acting as some protection. But they didn't really explain it in that manner.
In that
Now I'm beginning to see.
Yeah,
that,
yeah, to
this
see.
is actually quite maybe positive. Not so negative.
Straight.
There's two
Sure.
sides to the call, right?
Right,
The positive and the negative.
Well,
Right.
this is
You don't
where I
know.
think you realize you
It's
tie this all in
backwards,
with their vehicle, which is media, right? Which is sort of the video part to literature.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So since the very beginning, when you get all these Jason, Friday the 13th, all that stuff you're talking about,
Yeah.
that puts it in our mind.
In that-
all
that
this stuff is evil.
is
So
evil.
In the same thing that brother was talking about on the last Skype, which is all this subliminal messaging. So whenever you're there, you're disconnecting, or you're forced to want to disconnect
Right.
because that's evil.
Because it's evil.
Sorry, I got a boss.
All right, yo. See. Peace, fam. Yo, we'll connect, huh? Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. Yeah, one more, fam. Later, the pentagram came to be symbolic of the relationship of the head to the four limbs, compared to the relationship of the pure concentrated essence of spirit to the four traditional elements of matter: earth, water, air, and fire. In the Freemasonry order, the interlaced pentagram is the symbol used for the master of the lodge. It was known as the endless knot to these people as well. The geometrical properties were used to represent the Masonic emblem of virtue and duty. The women's branch of Freemasonry uses the pentagram as the Eastern Star, and each point commemorates a biblical heroine. Many of the founding fathers of America were Freemasons. Evidence of this exists in our country today, from the Capitol's layout to the five-pointed stars on the flag and even to the pyramid on our money. The inverted pentagram points spell out Mason from letters in the Latin word surrounding the pyramid. You already know that's the Eastern Stars logo, right? The inverted pentagram. And when we look at, like the flag, for example, or the banner, then they have all the 52 states represented as
You know, I thought about
5-point
that.
stars.
I thought about yesterday. 52 is 2 flags backwards.
Yeah, right. Which is 7, right? And then,
2-5,
yeah,
or whatever, right?
and then all the stars are the Moroccan stars, But what other star are they going to use to represent their banner? What other star could they use? Because the most
It's
powerful
interesting
star
you-
is that
you realize that
5-point star.
The sheriff has that badge, which is the 5-pointed star as well, right? Which is,
Every
Well, it's
sheriff
6,
has 6, yeah.
was it 6?
Yeah. But they have the top. They have one of the points covered with something. There's something on one of the points or something like that. Right.
But even the 6 is still the hex alpha, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It still goes back to us, right? During the Victorian era, Metaphysical societies were founded based on the Holy Kabbalah. Eliphas Levi was a leader of this movement, which was important because other groups arose from his lead. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, whose member Aleister Crowley created the Thoth Tarot deck, or the Tahuti Tarot deck, was one such group. One of the things Levi is credited with doing is turning the gypsy fortune-telling method tarot into a powerful set of symbolic images meant for divination. In doing so, he renamed the suit of coins to the suit of pentacles. During this time, an illustration arose of the old Baphomet symbol from the time of the Inquisition, drawn right next to the symbol of an upright pentagram. This was the first time that the inversion of the pentagram was seen as evil, and the upright pentagram was good. Because witchcraft was re-emerging, religious fundamentalists related Western occultism to the pentagram and witchcraft to satanic practices and devil worship. In 1940, Gerald Gardner adopted the inverted pentagram as a second-degree initiation symbol for the neo-pagan rituals of the Wiccan witchcraft tradition. The upright pentagram in conjunction with the point-up triangle symbolized 3-degree initiation, and the point-down triangle represented first-degree initiation. The Gardner pentacle was also inscribed on Wiccan altars. Its points symbolized 3 aspects of the goddess and 2 of the god, and it was also surrounded by 7 symbols which represented initiation, the horn god, the moon goddess, and a symbol of mercy and severity, or the kiss and the scourge. Because of the stigma associated with the inverted pentagram, it was the early 1960s before the pagan movement began growing more widespread and more public. So again, we have the Gardnerian pentacle. So the Gardnerian pentacle, and all they're doing is using our Moorish symbology to graft themselves into our story, because they don't have a story of their own. So they have to fit in, if you will. They have to try to fit in best that they can, right? And you know, like we say, this is just going into the pentagram. We didn't even deal with the crescent yet. This is just the pentagram, and then there's all this information about the pentagram and how many people have taken the pentagram, used the pentagram, turned upside down, sideways, backwards, or whatever, when it's really our stuff that we've cast away because of our black mentality. And like Brother Abdullah was saying when we did the lecture, that all this stuff, all the crosses, you know, with Jesus on it and all that, we need to go claim all that stuff back. Because all that stuff is our stuff. You know, like we can't let anything get thrown away, because everything is ours. Everything belongs to us. You know, and if we think about all the bridges that we burnt, because we cast away some stuff, because we listened to some idiot or some intelligent person tell us that, you know, throw that away. That's not good, you know, that's the devil's stuff or whatever, when it's really our stuff. There's so much stuff out there we have to reclaim. Right?
I just want to read what this dictionary says about pagan, because I find it very interesting.
All right.
This is a New Webster's dictionary.
You want to come up a little so they can pick you up on the...
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
And I don't have my glasses on. Anybody can read it, maybe? I can't really see so good. But it's interesting the way they make you think about words, right?
Right.
Okay, is it there? Pagan? Yeah. Okay, you see it?
Yep. Pagan, a peasant, a village or country district.
I'll talk up a little more, sorry.
A village or country district, a peasant. Compare origin of heathen, Akan, peasant. one who worships false gods or subscribes to a polytheistic religion, one who is neither a Christian, a Jew, nor Mahadian, a heathen, an idolater, person with no religion of or related to pagans, irreligious, heathenism. Paganism, the worship of false gods, heathenism, the condition of being a pagan.
It's just interesting how they take the language and they use these words to. First, they talked about it had to do with where you came from.
With where, yeah.
And then it had to do with you worship too many gods. Then it had to do with you worship false gods. Then it had to do with you're neither a Jew, a Christian or a Mohammedan.
Yeah.
They can twist
So there's
things.
twisted right in that
Yeah.
old way it was being
Yeah.
changed.
Change all the time.
Right. Constant change. Right. Anton LaVey's Church of Satan originally started as a renewed practice of worshiping the Egyptian deity Set. They adopted the inverted pentagram after the image of Baphomet for its emblem. The reaction of the Christian church was to condemn Satanism as evil. Any of the neo-pagan movements became lumped together with it as devil worship. The pentagram still bears its stigma today. The earth creates a natural pentacle when it's orbited around the sun. The earth's orbit is 360 degrees, and in those 360 degrees, the earth has 365 revolutions or days within the orbit. The only number that divides both 360 and 365 without a remainder is 5. This gives the ratio of 72 degrees per 73 days. Each of these points marks 1/5 of the orbit. If you connect the dots, it creates a pentacle. Read that again. The earth creates a natural pentacle when its orbit around the sun. The earth's orbit is 360 degrees, and in those 360 degrees, the earth has 365 revolutions or days within the orbit. The only number that divides both 360 and 365 without a remainder is 5. This gives the ratio 72 degrees per 73 days. Each of these points marks 1/5 of the orbit. If you connect the dots, it creates a pentacle. And there's the 5-point star in the universe. Right? Just showing that you got this. Everything good? Yeah, man, everything's good. Everything good. Okay, so everything. All right. The roots of the moon emblem go back to Central Asia, Siberia, Carthage, Greece, and of course, Arabian Peninsula. Eventually, during the Byzantine Empire era, the city of Constantinople, Istanbul, adopted the crescent emblem. Constantinople, as the capital of Byzantine, was an important strategic point and a historical city. This emblem, commonly recognized as the symbol of the Islamic faith, has actually acquired its association to the faith by association, rather than intent. The star and crescent symbol itself is very ancient.
Sorry, can you read the previous sentence about its association and how it acquired it? I didn't quite get that.
This emblem, commonly recognized as the symbol of the Islamic faith, has actually... Alright, take it easy, sis. This emblem, commonly recognized as the symbol of the Islamic faith, has actually acquired its association to the faith by association rather than intent. The star and crescent symbol itself is very ancient, dating back to early Sumerian civilization, where it was associated with the sun god and moon goddess, and later with the Carthaginian goddess Tanit, and even the Greek goddess Diana. So the Carthaginian goddess Tanit, this is her symbolic representation. Right? And the goddess Diana, the Greek goddess Diana, is her representation. And there she has the crescent on top of her head. Right? The symbol remained in near constant use and was eventually adopted into the battle standard of the Ottoman dynasty, who are mainly responsible for its association with Islam. As the dynasty was also the political head of the faith, it was inevitable that their emblem would be associated with Islam as well. As the Ottoman Empire extended, the symbolism of the crescent also spread among Muslim peoples. Currently, it's used on flags of Turkey, Tunisia, Algeria, and Mauritania, yet it's oddly absent on flags of Arabia. So there's a picture of people in Istanbul, right? Which is Turkey, which is the Ottoman Empire. After the Ottomans fell, the Turks took over. And then the Ottoman Empire came out of the Moorish Empire. There's some more right there. And remember, everybody knows who we are and knows what our stuff is, except us. And everybody's taking our stuff and using it more than we're using it. One can see crescents also atop of Russian Orthodox churches, along with the cross right above it. Some people believe it symbolizes victory of Christianity over Islam, which is wrong. Crescents appeared on churches well before any conflicts with Muslim nations. It should be noted that there is no mention of such a symbol in the Quran, the holy book of Islam, nor is there any relationship between the crescent and the star and the Prophet, whose flag was black and white inscribed Nasr Umin Allah, with the help of Allah. And there's the Russian Orthodox Church with the crescent and the cross. Right? Now, not only does the Russian Orthodox Church buildings have the crescent and the cross, right? But they also wear the fez in the Russian Orthodox Church with the veil, or the what's it called at the veil? No, what's it called at the bridesmaids train? Fez with the train. Right? This is the Russian Orthodox Church. And keep in mind, also, the Russian Orthodox Church up here, they have the KKK cone hat. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And they're proud with that. Right? The crescent and star signifies concentration, openness, and victory, as well as sovereignty and divinity. According to historical tales, in 339 BC, a brilliant waxing moon had saved Byzantium from the attack of Philip of Macedon. The astronomical conjunction theory, star represents Venus. Many Muslim scholars believe that the conjunction of the moon and Venus on July 23rd, 610 AD, was on the same night in which exactly coincides with the night that the Prophet Muhammad had received his initiation, revelation from Allah via the angel Gabriel. Of course, this is historically inaccurate and wrong. However, in this version, Venus represents the star. The most historically accurate and popular myth by Muslims is that the star represents Muhammad. The Prophet posing as a star, or the northern star, is the true element which directs the lighten and lightens the path for the Arabo-Muslim to find their way to destination in dark nights of the Arabian Peninsula, and hypothetically and symbolically in the world. The navigation theory. Star represents the northern star. Other Muslim scholars believe that the star represents the northern star, which used to navigate and direct the Arabo-Muslim in the dark desert nights of Arabia. So far, historical documents tell us that the crescent and star emblem were used BC period by the Babylonian cult of Inanna. BC period Egyptians of goddess Isis. BC period Central Asian Altaic Turks. 330 BC Byzantium Greeks. 330 AD Byzantium Romans. 1000 AD Ottoman Turks. 1299 AD Ottoman Empire. 1450 AD to present Muslim world. Right? So everyone has and knows about our stuff. So Juali made the statement, and he showed and proved by producing literature, right, for the Moors. And all the literature that we have today by Noble Juali came out of articles of the Moorish Guide, right? So there wasn't like how we have today Moorish literature books and whatever. All that was paper articles, right? So one of the articles we're going to right now is the industrious acts of Muslims. The industrious acts of Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, and Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission of the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. They originated the beauties of the Alhambra, and to an unpracticed eye, the light reliefs and fanciful arabesques which cover the walls of the Alhambra appear to have been sculpted by hand. And then remember, Alhambra was the last stronghold of the Moors. Alhambra was the first place that Michelle Obama visited with the girls while Barack Obama was in Egypt making the speech about United States was founded on Muslim law, and we know that the debt that our country has to Islam and all this type of stuff, right? And then came back, and then that's when they signed all the declarations or the UN declarations and all that, right? With a minute and patient labor, an inexhaustible variety of detail, yet a general uniformity and harmony of design truly astonishing. And this may especially be said of the vaults and cupolas, which are wrought like honeycombs or frostwork, with stalactites and pendants, which confound the beholder with the seeming intricacy of their patterns. The astonishment ceases, however, when it is discovered that this is all stucco work, plates of plaster of Paris cast in molds and skillfully joined so as to form patterns of every size and form. This mode of disappearing walls with arabesques and stuccoing the vaults with grotto work was invented in Damascus, but highly improved by the Moors in Morocco, to whom Saracenic architecture owes its most graceful and fanciful details. The process by which this fairy tracery was produced was ingeniously simple. The walls in their naked state were divided off by lines crossing at right angles, such as artists use in copying a picture. Over these were drawn a succession of interesting regiments of circles. By the aid of these, the artist could work with the celerity and certainty, and from the mere intersection of their plane and curved lines arose the interminable variety of patterns and the general uniformity of their character. Much gilding was used in the stucco work, especially of the cupolas, and the interstices were delicately penciled with brilliant colors such as vermilion and lapis lazuli laid on with the whites of eggs. The primitive colors alone were used, says Ford, by Egyptians, Greeks, and Arabs in the early period of art, and they prevail in the Alhambra wherever the artist has been Arabic or Moorish. It is remarkable how much of their original brilliancy remains after the lapse of several centuries. The lower part of the walls in the saloons to the height of the several feet is encrusted with glazed tiles, joined like the plates of stucco work, so as to form various patterns. On some of these are emblazoned and escutcheons of the Moslem kings traversed with a band and motto. These glazed tiles, azulijas in Spanish, azulija in Arabic, are of Oriental origin. Their coolness, cleanliness, and freedom from vermin render them admirably fitted in sultry climates for paving halls and fountains, encrusted bathrooms, and lining the walls of chambers. Ford inclined to give them great antiquity. From their prevailing colors, sapphire and blue, he deduces that they may have formed a kind of pavements allude to the sacred scriptures. There was under his feet as it were paved work of sapphire stone. Exodus 24 verse 10. And again, behold, I will lay thy stones with the fairy colors and lay their foundations with sapphires. These glazed or porcelain tiles were introduced into Spain at an early date by the Muslims. Some are to be seen among the Moorish ruins, have been there upwards of 8 centuries. Manufacturers of them still exist in the peninsula, and they are much used in the Spanish houses, especially in the southern provinces, for paving and lining the summer apartments. The Spaniards introduced them into the Netherlands when they had possession of that country. The people of Holland adopted them with avidity, as wonderfully suited to their passion for household cleanliness, and thus these oriental inventions, the azulijas of the Spaniards, the azulija of the Arabs, have come to be commonly known as Dutch tiles by Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept.
Oh, so they're Dutch tiles, are they?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
After all that,
that.
Oriental and Egyptian, now they're Dutch
Now
tiles,
they're
like
Dutch
French
tiles.
braids.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Right. And you know that's how they do. Right.
What is that? So why,
This is the Moorish literature, and that was the writing.
Where are they quoting that from? Why would that be in there?
Well, he just gave his
explanation.
name, some Egyptologist,
Oh, I see.
right?
Yeah, no, it was written by Professor Drew. It was written by Drew Ali.
Okay.
But the statement is basically saying what you're saying, that, you know,
Yeah.
after the Oriental inventions and the Spaniards and the Arabs, they have commonly known now as Dutch tiles, right?
So you're saying that they didn't put their stamp on it?
Put their
Yeah.
stamp on it at the end after you get the Moors out the way. After the Moors, you know,
After we set it up, it's now ours.
it's
Yes.
now ours, right? Which is the pattern, you know, the theme, right?
The only thing the Europeans ever invented was the patent office.
Yeah.
It's true.
The hot dog.
Right.
Now they're getting patent. Vegetables.
That's been going on for a while, man.
How
they're
insane
going-
is
On for
that?
about 20-some years.
How
going hard.
insane
It is.
is that?
That's ridiculous.
They're going hard.
Come on.
Oh,
These people got to go.
I forget the name of that system.
Monsanto?
Well, they're one of the worst GMO
yeah.
manufacturers.
Trust me, right?
That little setup.
So what we were gonna finish on was Wardship Dispeller, right? rvbaypublications.com, you already know. And this is page 58, Awaken. So this is just after we've gone through everything that we did today. This is where we're supposed to be at. So again, we point out the relationships that the past has upon the present through language and the terse effects created by the Roman nations having altering original words, script, and text. In referencing the word God, its chronology, its history, its origin, and its true meaning, we can also relate to many other misconceptions perpetrated upon an unsuspecting world of misused natural peoples. Keep in mind the ancient linguistic truth that culture is in the language. Oppressed natural peoples of North America need to relearn the truth about their ancient foremothers and forefathers, inclusive of linguistic links to their own ancient culture. The Aboriginals of the North Gate need to learn the truth about their nationality, their birthrights, and what basic rules of investigation and inquiry, such as who, what, where, when, why, and how. Now let us remove the long-standing veil of mystery about the origin, history, and meaning of the word God. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Because the masses of natural people have been controlled and miseducated by extorting and controlled descendant colonists of the Roman nations, they have been foretrained to be indifferent to their own history, denied the high culture principles of their forefathers, and kept limited in basic etymological skills. Thus, Moors of the Northwest, Maghreb al-Aqsa, North America, have fallen to abject servitude and mental slavery under the colorable authority and damnation of Inquisitionists. The Moors branded blacks and Negroes low social status expressed in society these days has an ancient historical root. Their unnatural and artificial economic and so-called degradation and civiliter mortuus status, such as black brands and ignorance, etc., has much to do with the fact that they followed after the contemporary and fallacious idol gods of Europe, whose origin and etymon were not known by them. The mistaught masses are familiar with the word God, yet they are not familiar with its true origin nor with its etymon. The privileged elite and rulers among the religionists of the world are well aware and taught of the truth about the word God in both its transitive verb origin, its contemporary noun form, and its grammatical acronym forms G-O-D and all caps G-O-D. These etymological truths are availed only by organized privy council, involved hiding the alteration motives of the Romans and their colonial crusade armies seated in the Western Hemisphere. Let us remove the long-standing veil of mystery about the origin and history and the meaning of the word God. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. God, as used in dogmatic and religious forms, ceremonies, and sermons, etc., is riddled with allegorical stories and symbols. However, the common people are not generally made aware of the fact that those who, holding titles, have been trained and paid to groom the oppressed in vague belief mysteries, and have for themselves another high body of information and study about which they dare not speak of in any meaningful degree, nor expose to their emotion captive congregants. Doctors of divinity, ecclesiastics, high priests, world rulers, industrialists, master masons, eastern stars, Jesuits, amanuensis masters, PhDs, LLDs, the erudite of jurisprudence, anthropologists, master linguists, PhDs, and etymologists, etc., are availed the fundamental knowledge about etymology and the word God, also as an acronym God. This is an elementary level etymology and history lesson for those neophyte and scholars who seek truth and possess within themselves the integrity, honorable will, and ability to correct that which is known to be historically, socially, and grammatically wrong, particularly those who respect their own divinely given common sense and refuse to be handicapped in respect to actuating the higher reasoning mind. Keep in mind that the ancient pedagogues used a common teaching or gnosis process involving a trinity of steps, or what may be called a triune principle method, to encourage, to teach, to instruct, and to aid the progress of the neophyte in such learning deemed for spiritual and social development. On a symbolic level, 3 candlesticks were used to represent the degrees of light. The light represents degrees or stages of knowledge, gnosis. Pedagogy takes in regard the physical, anatomical, and spiritual development of the divine human being, and addresses instructions according with respect to the chartered character, makeup, and nature of the being. The education process is generally symbolized in the candlelight form. We will demonstrate some of the less revealed aspects about the 3 lights as known by those who have achieved fruition or master in the true aspects of ancient religion science. The first light is represented to the masses, people, as belief. This is presented to small children, seed, to assist them in activating a consciousness of self and an appreciation of their loved ones and their environment. This elementary level is believer. The second light is represented as faith. This is the level of human development where the social skills are to improve with one's applied uses of elementary tools and skills of social order, cosmology, and civilization. The faith level is scholar. The third light is represented as fruition. This is the level of human development where the being is no longer a child in mind, but know the self, is being self, knows of divine law, is capable of regurgitating the same in speech and writing. Further exercises of such are thus demonstrated in the life of the being for the benefit of humanity, demonstrating a reasonable knowledge of the principal keys of civilization known and applied. The fruition level is master. A master recognizes the relationship that every living thing has to every other living thing, and that all things occur by law. Law governs all events. Thus, the divine laws that govern the universe are the objects of his or her study. A master seeks to raise above mere belief and become a seeker of universal facts, truth, and knowing, gnosis. The master puts away his or her childish and vague concepts of the world, shunning ignorance, science, language, creativity, human progress. The enlightened and awakened self has accepted the responsibility to use the highest sense known to man. That high science is called common sense. Common sense is applied in thinking, acting, and reasoning. Some of the given branches of the humanities, etc. The faith stage or second light corresponds to one who has ascended in intellect and has acquired the capacity to apply that which was learned. Islam. And to close out, we'll just back that up with chapter 7. Chapter 7, the friendships of Isa and Lamas. Isa explains to Lamas the meaning of truth. Among the priests of Jagannath was one who loved the Jewish boy. Lamas Brahmis was the name by which the priest was known. One day, as Isa and Lamas walked alone in Plaza Jagannath, Lamas said, "My Jewish master, what is truth?" And Isa said, "Truth is the only thing that changes not. In all the world there are two things. The one is truth, the other is falsehood, and falsehood that which seems to be. Now truth is aught and has no cause, and yet it is the cause of everything. Falsehood is aught, and yet it is the manifest of right. Whatever has been made will be unmade. That which begins must end. All things that can be seen by human eyes are manifest of aught, are not, and so must pass away. The things we see are but reflexes, just appearing, while the ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. The holy breath is truth, and that which was and is and evermore shall be. It cannot change nor pass away." Lamas said, "You answer well. Now what is man?" And Isa said, "Man is the truth and falsehood strangely mixed. Man is the breath made flesh. So truth and falsehood are co-joined in him. And then they strive, and naught goes down, and man is as truth abides." Again Lamas asks, "What do you say of power?" And Isa said, "It is a manifest. It is a result of force. It is but naught. It is illusion, nothing more. Force changes not, but power changes as the ethers change. Force is the will of Allah and is omnipotent, and power is that will in manifest, directed by the breath. There is a power in the winds, a power in the waves, a power in the lightning stroke, a power in the human arm, a power in the eye. The ethers cause these powers to be, and the thought of Elohim, of angel, man, or other thinking things directs the force. When it has done its work, the power is no more." Again Lamas asks, "Of understanding what do you say?" And Isa said, "It is the rock on which man builds himself. It is the gnosis of aught and of naught, of falsehood and truth. It is the knowledge of the lower self and the sensing of the powers of man himself." Again Lamas asks, "Of wisdom, what have you to say?" And Isa said, "It is the consciousness that man is aught, that Allah and his man are one, that naught is naught, that power is but illusion, and heaven and earth and hell are not above, around, below, but in, which in the light of aught becomes naught, and Allah is all." Lamas asks, "Pray, what is faith?" And Isa said, "Faith is the surety of omnipotence of Allah and man, the certainty that man will reach deific life. Salvation is a ladder, reaching from the heart of man to the heart of Allah. It has 3 steps. Belief is first, and this is what man thinks perhaps is truth. And faith is next, and this is what man knows is truth. Fruition is the last, and this is man himself, the truth. Belief is lost in faith, and in fruition faith is lost. And man is saved when he has reached deific life, when he and Allah are one. I and the Father are one. John 10 verse 30. And that's Holy Quran Circle 7. Oh yeah, and that's Holy Quran Circle 7 hardcover, right? That was put out by Malachi York for the Nuwapians. because he said, this is Malachi York's words, the Holy Quran Circle 7 is not to be mistaken for the Quran, the holy book of the Eastern Islamic world, that of the Prophet Mustafa Muhammad Alameen 570-632 AD of Arabia received, also called the Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. This is not what Prophet Noble Juali intended to be mistaken as. There was another Muhammad called Mehmed, the first, who ruled in 1413 AD. When you have his son Murad II ruling through 1421 to 1444, when he was too sick and returned to the throne in 1446 through 1451. Then in 1451 he was succeeded by Mehmed II, who was known as Faith or Muhammad II, Sultan of Turkey, known also as Muhammad the Conqueror, born 1429 and died 1481 AD of Jerusalem of the Turkish Ottoman Empire, which covered from Istanbul to Yemen, which included Mecca from Egypt to Baghdad between 1359 to 1520. They were descendants of Uthman ibn Affan, ibn Abil Asi, the third Sunni Wahhabi Khalifa, married of the two daughters of the Prophet Muhammad of Arabia, being Kulthum and Rakia, which would make them, through his marriage, direct descendants of Hagar, the Egyptian wife of Abraham the Hebrew, as descendants of Muhammad through marriage, would make them a part of the great family of the chief protectors of the Islamic creed of Mecca, the founder of the uniting of Islam by the command of the great universal Allah, as explained in chapter 45, verse 7 of the Holy Quran Circle 7. This Holy Quran Circle 7 was compiled and put out in collaboration with Brother Eloah A.L. Emmanuel, a member of the Moorish Science Temple since birth, of a family of the original and registered on April 25, 1976 AD by the Moorish School of Law and History, Grand Sheikh Richard Dingle L., certificate sealed and signed by Divine Minister Sheikh Alfred Collins L., and Director and National Registrar Sheikh Clarence Reynolds L. I release this with total sincerity and hopes to keep the legacy of the Moorish Science Temple alive. 1996. Very interesting. So that's pretty much that for today. We'll close out with the prayer. Islam to all the Moors online. Give thanks for the patience and for assisting with making sure the program ran proper today. Islam, 5 on the Islam to Brother Omar for finding the plug for us to get some internet tonight. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through his and her holy prophet, Noble Juali. Islam. Peace, Moors. Islam. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll get that done.
I can just plug it out, right?